Salama Bena Zulu Benako. The earliest theory of salvation is the Egyptian theory, yes, and they believed in the mystery systems. They believe that the most important thing for a human was to gain his divinity, yes, and by gaining that divinity, you will gain your salvation. And he taught that the soul of man, if liberated from its bodily fetters, could enable him to become godlike and to see the gods in this life and attain the beatific vision and hold communion with the immortals. I'm Nabi Kefas. Welcome. If you're for the first time on my channel, subscribe if you like the content. Of course, like and share the video. Many books are written about the ancient mysteries of the Egyptians. The earliest theory of salvation is the Egyptian theory, yes? So the early documented theory of salvation that all humankind followed was the Egyptian theory. All religions were actually branched out from the Egyptian religion, yes? All philosophies, all spiritual, revelations and religions, whatever you can call them, they were all branched from the Egyptian religion, the Egyptian wisdoms, the Egyptian mystical system. Yes, everything came from Egypt. The good and the bad. Yes, it all came from Egypt. The source of the Bible is of African origin. Yes. Herodotus informs that the Hebrews were originally a colony of the Egyptians. Herodotus. Yes. He's the one telling us here that the Hebrews were originally a colony of the Egyptians. Now, what is a colony? So the Hebrews were a colony of the Egyptians and consequently agreed with most of their customs and manners. Herodotus, book 2. A colony, a country or an area under the full or partial political control of another country and occupied by settlers from that country. A group of people of one nationality or race living in a foreign place. An area over which a foreign nation or state extends or maintains control. A group of people who establish residence in that area and who retain ties with the parent state. A group of people who settle together in a new place. Yes, a group of people who settle together in a new place. Now, what does Herodotus say? He says the Hebrews were originally a colony of the Egyptians and consequently agreed with most of their customs and manners. So in the Hebrew traditions, customs and manners, you will observe also Egyptian customs and manners. Why? According to Herodotus, they shared the same customs and manners. Yes, because he considered them a colony of the Egyptians. The Egyptians were black, the ancient Hebrews were black. Herodotus shows that the origin of the alphabet was of Phoenician Semitic, as does Pliny, and taken directly from the Egyptian forms, hieroglyphs, as Eusebius and the classic authorities from Plato to Tatius agree. We find the Old Testament filled with Egyptian words in the Semitic form, and we know that the Jews grew from a race of only 70 souls to over 3 million of people in Egypt. The blending with the Egyptian people is part of history's record. The Hebrew alphabet was of itself of Egyptian origin. The language, customs, and education were of Egyptian origin. Now, many European writers, Greek philosophers, Greek historians come to the same conclusion. The Hebrews were a colony of the Egyptian. They came from the same place. Hosea 11. When Israel, Yiseka'yah, was a child, then I loved him. Where was Yiseka'yah a child? In Egypt. Yes. Where was he a child? He was a child in Egypt. An infant, just a child in Egypt. So in Egypt, Yiseka'yah received what? The educations, they build their customs, they build their manners. And consequently, of course, living in Egypt, those customs and manners were intermixed. So when Israel was a child in Egypt, as he grew, yes, in a multitude, as he became great, as he became mighty, where in Egypt, I loved him. Yes, and then I called my son out of Egypt. Yes, now we're going out of Egypt, but we are taking with us our customs, our manners. And those customs and manners, and those customs and manners, we have lived with them for many of hundreds, thousands of years in Egypt, along the Nile valleys. So everywhere we went, we took those customs and manners with us. So therefore, when the Grecians started to observe the Hebrews, they said, hey, these people must have been originally a colony of the Egyptians, because they do not only look the same, they have the same customs, they have the same manners, and even the Hebrew alphabet itself came from the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Yes, the Hebrew alphabet was an evolution of the Egyptian hieroglyphs. Professor Luyaluka writes the following. He says, our main presumption in the comparative study of Bukongo, the religions of ancient Egypt and Sumer, will be that these three theological cultures belong to the same epistemology. We will call this epistemology solar because it perceives thought as focus on the divine, like the earth orbiting around the sun, a symbol of God the Creator. So the sun, as is in the Bible, is a symbol of the Creator. As we can see here in Psalm 48, verse 11, for the Lord God is a sun. Yes, the Lord God is a sun and a shield. So the sun represents or is a symbol for God, the Creator. Yes, we don't worship the sun. We don't offer any prayers to the sun. But the sun is a symbol of the Creator, as we see in this verse of Psalm 48:11. Spirituality based on solar epistemology possesses as foundational tenet the freedom of the soul from the body. Bukongo affirms this freedom of the soul through its consequent immortality, or the continuation of life in the beyond, as seen in the fact that the name never dies. In the Bukongo, the name never dies. Your name remains, as is your soul. Your soul remains, and your soul and your name are immortal. They remain. In this, it resembles to the soul, or moyo. Yes, the name resembles the soul, moyo. The name is eternal. To affirm this freedom, the ancient Egyptians used to depict the soul as a bird hovering above a body or a corpse. The same perception appears among Sumerians, about whom Kramer illustrates the soul as flying above Dumuzi's body, like falcon flies against another bird. This freedom of the soul implies a revelatory mode of thinking, which naturally gives preponderance to intuitions and oracles. Herodotus provides in his accounts of Egypt instances of the use of oracles even for solving puzzles, geographic problems about the Nile. Sheikh Antidiop affirms their usage in Egyptian clerical justice. The same solar futures appear also in summer, where, as recounted by Kramer, the king of Kish rendered justice through an oracle of Sataran. Now, Congo culture, like other African traditions, depicts reason not as an inner activity of the cerebral cortex, as in Western epistemology, but as being essentially revelatory. A thought came to me, will say a Congo, referring to a new idea, is to say, it was revealed to him by those who abide on the higher planes. Abioye hints to the same perception of reason among the Yoruba people of Nigeria. Thus, this concept of reason naturally implies the necessity of the Waneric trips of the soul to receive ideas from higher humanities, is to say, the use of the freedom of the soul from the body. Alluding to these trips, to the freedom of the soul, an African elder facing a difficult question will insist, let us sleep and let the head have a dream. Solar epistemology implies a holistic perception of the universe and the existence of a solar religion, a salvational religion whose theism is characterized by a hierarchy of divinities upon which thrones a supreme being. 15 October 2022, this coming weekend, we will have a seminar entitled Bukongo. Dr. Luyaluka will give us a lecture where he will explain Bukongo. Bukongo, as you have seen, is the soteriological, salvational religion of ancient Egyptian, who shared that same solar theology with the Hebrew who were a colony, a people who came out of Egypt, sharing the customs, manners, and solar epistemology. 15 October 2022. Follow the instructions in the description box for your registration. It will be a very powerful an awesome seminar. I hope to see you there. Yes, I hope to see you there. For now, I will say, I am Nabi Kefas. Thank you for watching, and may Tatanzambe bless you. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe today. Check out my Patreon page. I have there some exclusive content for all of you. We are the Israelites of the Bible. We are the ancient Hebrews. Kembo na Tatanzambe yamanzulu. Ingeta.